Today I'm at Hillsborough. Many footballers, when they stop playing, become managers or coaches or even publicans. Today I'm talking to Rodger Wylde, the ex-Sheffield Wednesday forward and now a chartered physiotherapist with Stockport County. Did you enjoy your time here?
Oh yeah, I loved it. It was great. I mean, I'd always been a Sheffield United supporter as a kid, but Sheffield Wednesday obviously saw that I was going to turn into a good player and signed me. And yeah, I did. I spent 10 years here, and I enjoyed it very much. Yeah. And
you were, every schoolboy's dream: the striker, the man who scored the goals, the hero. I mean, what's it like having 30,000 plus people, or 40,000 plus people, as it must have been in those days, screaming your name?
Well, not exactly. It was more like about 15, I think, not 40,000. No, it is, yeah. I mean, every schoolboy who wants to be a footballer dreams of scoring goals at a place like Hillsborough and have the crowd sort of chanting your name. Yeah, it was good, and I had a good rapport with the crowd because I think in them days every team used to have a player that was a bit of an individualist and used to be a bit of a showman. I mean, you used to get the likes of Tony Curry, Stan Bowles, Rodney Marsh, and to a lesser extent George Best at that time. They had the shirts out, socks down, longish hair, still got it, and they used to entertain the crowd and be the one that would do something a little bit different on a Saturday.
Which is really important in football, isn't it? I mean, it's not all just about winning; it's about entertaining too, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I think so. I mean, well, that was my philosophy when I was a player. It wasn't just about winning, although it was nice because you got your bonus. I mean, at the end of the day, that it was a job and you needed to win. But I was a goal scorer, and I used to like scoring. I mean, Gary Megson's my manager now, who at Stockport, and he always takes the mickey out of me saying, well, we lost 4-1, but I scored the one, you know. And to be quite honest, that was the case. I was happy if I scored.
Yeah.
I was even happier if I scored and won.
The game today, do you think it's more physical than it was then?
When I was playing, the game was slower and you had probably more skillful players. And then in the period of the 80s, when Wimbledon sort of came along, I don't know whether Vinnie Jones was there then. Was he? Would he have been there at that time? I don't know.
The end of the 80s, yeah.
I mean, they sort of brought speed into it, end of story, that was it. But now, teams realise that you've got to be strong, you've got to be quick, and you've got to have some skill as well.
Do you have any regrets about, the 70s versus the 90s today? I mean, a 90s footballer, he can comfortably retire. If he's in the top flight, he can retire at the age of 30, and that just isn't the case with the players from the 70s, is it?
You did earn decent money. Obviously, it was better than working, and also the hours of a footballer were pretty good. A couple of hours a day, and that was it. But yeah, I mean, at the level that I played at and the clubs that I played with, I would have earned quite a lot of money.
And what do you think you'd have been worth in the transfer market at your peak?
I don't know. It's difficult to say, really. I don't know. I mean, we've got a lad at our place, Alan Armstrong at Stockport.
Yes.
And Alan's probably. Well, I tell you, I don't want to sound big-headed or anything, but people tend to compare me with him at Blackburn. Forget his name now. Sutton, yeah, Chris Sutton. They said I was a similar sort of player to him.
And he went for 5 million 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Didn't he?
Yeah.
So, I mean, in today's terms, he's probably worth 7 or 8 million now, as the prices have inflated.
I don't think I would have been worth it. It just seems too much.
You're being very modest.
I went to Oldham from Sheffield Wednesday for, I think it was about 150,000, and which in 1980 was I mean, it was quite a lot of money. And I signed for Oldham, and I thought, I can't understand the chairman. Do you think he could buy 5 Ferraris instead of having me? And that would be much more, much more fun, I would have thought.
You've moved from football to chartered physiotherapy. How did that come about?
Most ex-footballers want to stay in the game if they can. And I mean, I was no exception. I didn't want to be a manager. There's no way that I would ever have been a manager.
Why?
I don't know. I mean,
too much aggravation.
There's a lot. I mean, it's a well-paid job, and there is a lot of hassle with the job and pressure. And you see managers. I mean, I saw managers as a player. They used to get really, anxious on the bench and a lot of stress. And when they used to take you out training and coaching and things, I mean, all I wanted to do was play five-a-side. There's no way. I used to love standing out on the field playing shadow play and doing set pieces and things. I just wanted to get a ball and play. And I felt that I didn't want to make players, or I would have had to ask players to do things that I didn't want to do as a player anyway. I mean, all right, it's probably necessary at times to do these things, but I didn't like doing them, so I didn't want to be involved in that.
Right.
So.
But physiotherapy is not a normal course for.
No, it wasn't.
It?
It wasn't at that time. These last few years, I think it's becoming more popular with players because players. I mean, me as a physio now, I know what players need to, what sort of fitness levels they need to get back to before going back into a game, and what their mentality's like and what motivates them. And so I think the footballing background that I had helps me now in my job. Along with the qualification that I've got.
Did you suffer any severe injuries?
Me, I never went into any tattles. I used to keep out of those.
But did anyone tackle you very badly?
No, they couldn't get near me.
Oh, sorry.
No, I used to get. To be quite honest, I didn't know. I used to get muscle injuries because I suppose I was an athlete really.
There have been some fairly high-profile players with long-term injuries. Alan Shearer, Roy Keane, Gaza.
Yeah.
There's quite a lot of Lee Sharp at Leeds has got a cruciate knee ligament.
Yeah.
Do you think there are more injuries today than there were in the 70s?
Well, you can't get away from broken legs. I mean, a broken leg is a broken leg.
Yeah.
But you mentioned cruciate injuries and hernias as well. They have become more sort of popular, as it were, or in vogue because people are now able to diagnose them.
Right.
Whereas previously they probably wouldn't diagnose an ACL going back 15 years. They would look at it as a meniscus problem, a cartilage, and they didn't have the means to sort of investigate them further without major surgery.
And so they would have just left them?
And probably players in the past have gone out of the game due to injuries like that being undiagnosed. I mean, I won't say the club, but I went to one club, and the year before, the physio who was the physio at that time had been the groundsman the year before.